sense at all, because there was just too much of it. They discussed and argued, joined clubs, held debates, wrote books, and produced movies all about the issue of the importance or unimportance of the color violet. The color of the blue jay became a big issue because he had such little bit of blue, and the world had such a whole lot of blue. People argued about the importance of that. Some said that the blue jay must be a very special bird, or maybe not a bird at all, because he alone had kept his true color. Others said this was silly, that the blue jay ate birdseed and drank water and fluffed his feathers, and that other than his special color, he was still just a bird. It was exactly 1 year to the day after the world had turned violet that people awoke to find the world had turned yellow, all except the blue jay. In some ways, the world isn't any different than a violet world. People simply said yellow instead of violet when they talked about things. Only now the blue jay was more important than ever because he alone had stayed the same color blue, and people argued about what that meant. They lined up for miles just to take a look at him. For the next 2 years, exactly on the day the world had turned violet and then yellow, it turned new colors, first orange and then pink. Still, the blue jay stayed blue, causing ever greater disagreement, until the 5th year, the whole world turned blue. The first thing people asked was about the blue jay. Had he stayed blue? Yes, he was still the same color. No longer were there 2 colors in the world, but just one. And because the blue jay was a color like everybody and everything, people began to lose interest. Now somebody let him out of his cage, and he flew off, looking happy to be free. The very next morning,